everyone. Tennessee Williams. Tennessee Williams, A Streetcar Named Desire. Played by the players of the third semester undergraduate course, English honors course of Rishi Bankim Chandra College, Naihati. The various characters of the play will be performed by the players. Blanche, Stanley, Stella, Mitch, Eunice, Steve, Pablo, the role of Negro woman, doctor, nurse, young collector, Mexican woman, all these will be played by the players of the third semester UG course of English honors, Rishi Bankim Chandra College. The play begins with a scene. Scene 1 of the play. The exterior of a two-story corner building on a street in New Orleans, which is named Elysian Fields and runs between the L and N tracks and the river. The section is poor, but unlike corresponding sections in other American cities, it has a raffish charm. The houses are mostly white frame, withered gray, with rickety outside stairs and galleries and quaintly ornamented gables. This building contains two flats, upstairs and down. Faded white stairs ascend to the entrances of both. It is the first dark of an evening early in May. The sky that shows around the dim white building is a peculiarly tender blue, almost turquoise, which invests the scene with a kind of lyricism and grace, fully accentuates the atmosphere of decay. You can almost feel the warm breath of the brown river beyond the river warehouses, with their faint redolences of bananas and coffee. A corresponding air is evoked by the music of Negro entertainers at a bar room around the corner. In this part of New Orleans, you are practically always just around the corner or a few doors down the street from a tinny piano being played with the infatuated fluency of brown fingers. This blue piano expresses the spirit of the life which goes on there. Two women, one white and one colored, are taking the air on the steps of the building. The white woman is Eunice, who occupies the upstairs flat. The colored woman, a neighbor for New Orleans, is a cosmopolitan city where there is a relatively warm and easy intermingling of races. This new white woman is Eunice, who occupies the upstairs flat, and the colored woman is a neighbor. For New Orleans is a cosmopolitan city where there is a relatively warm and easy intermingling of races in the old part of the town. Above the music of blue piano, the voices of people on the street can be heard up overlapping. Two men come around the corner. Stanley Kowalski and Mitch. They are about 28 and 30 years old, roughly dressed in blue denim work clothes. Stanley carries his bowling jacket and a red stained package from a butcher's. They stop at the foot of the steps, and we find Stanley there, standing in front of the flat, bellowing, shouting.
Hey there, Stella baby.
Stella comes out of the first floor landing, a gentle young woman about 25, and of a background obviously quite different from her husband's. Stella then mildly says,
Don't holler me like that. Hi, Mitch.
Catch.
What?
Need.
okay, he heaves the package at her. She cries out in protest, but somehow manages to catch it. Then she laughs breathlessly. Her husband and her companion have already started background around the corner. Stella is calling after him.
Stanley, where are you going?
Bowling.
Can I come watch?
Come on.
So Stanley goes out.
Be over soon.
Now
Hello, Anish.
He addresses the white woman.
Hello, Inish. How are you?
I'm all right. Tell Steve to get him a poor boy sandwich, cause nothing's left here.
So they all laugh. The colored woman does not stop. Stella goes out, and the colored woman says,
What was
What
the
was
package he threw at her?
so she rises from steps and starts laughing louder.
You now.
Catch! What?
She continues to laugh. Blanche comes around the corner carrying a valise, and she looks at the at a slip of paper, then at the building, then again at the slip, and again at the building. Her expression is one of shocked disbelief. Her appearance is incongruous to this setting. She is daintily dressed in a white suit with a fluffy bodice, necklace and earrings of pearl, white gloves and hat, looking as if she were arriving at a summer tea cocktail party in the Garden District. She is about 5 years older than Stella. Her delicate beauty must avoid a strong light. There is something about her uncertain manner, as well as her white clothes, that suggest a moth. Eunice finally says.
What's the matter, honey? Are you lost?
Blanche says with faintly hysterical humor.
They told me to take a streetcar named Desire and then transfer to one called Cemeteries and ride 6 blocks and get off at Elysian Fields.
That's where you are now.
At Elysian Fields.
This here is Elysian Fields.
They must not have understood what number I wanted.
What number are you looking for?
Blanche wearily refers to the slip of paper.
632.
You don't have to look no further.
Blanche cannot understand. Uncomprehendingly, she says,
I am looking for my sister Stella Dubois. I mean Mrs. Stanley Kowalski.
That's the party. You just did miss her.
Can this be her home?
She's got the downstairs here and I got up the up.
Oh, she is out.
You noticed that bowling alley around the corner?
I'm not sure I did.
Well, that's where she's at, watching her husband ball.
there's a pause.
You want to leave your suitcase here and go find her.
No,
The Negro woman is there. She says, I will go.
I'll go. I'll go tell her you come.
thanks.
The Negro woman
You're
says,
welcome.
and then she goes out.
She wasn't expecting you.
No, not tonight.
Well, why don't you just go in and make yourself at home till they get back?
How could I do that?
We won this place, so I can let you in.
So she gets up and opens the door, downstairs door. A light goes on behind the blind, turning it light blue. Blanche slowly follows her into the downstairs flat. The surrounding areas dim out as the interior is lighted. We can see two rooms, not too clearly defined. The one first entered, is primarily a kitchen, but contains a folding bed to be used by Blanche. The room beyond this is a bedroom. Off this room is a narrow door to a bathroom. And Eunice, we find, defensively noticing Blanche's look, Eunice says,
It's sort of messed up right now, but when it's clean, it's real sweet.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. So you are Stella's sister.
Yes.
Blanche is wanting to get rid of Eunice.
Thanks for letting me in.
Coronado, as the Mexicans say, Coronado Stella spoke of you.
Yes.
I think she said you taught school.
Yes.
And you are from Mississippi.
Yes.
She showed me a picture of you. Home place, the plantation.
Bele Reve.
A great big place with white columns.
Yes.
A place like that must be awful hard to keep up.
If you will excuse me, I am just about to drop.
Sure, honey. Why don't you sit down?
What I meant was I'd like to be left alone.
Eunice is a bit offended.
Oh, I will make myself scared in that case.
I didn't mean to be rude, but
I will drop by the bowling alley and hush it around.
She goes out of the door. Blanche sits in a chair very stiffly, with her shoulders slightly hunched and her legs pressed close together and her hands tightly clutching her purse as if she were quite cold. After a while, the blind look goes out of her eyes and she begins to look slowly around. A cat screeches. She catches her breath with a startled gesture. Suddenly, she notices something in a half opened closet. She springs up and crosses to it and removes a whiskey bottle. She pours a half tumbler of whiskey and tosses it down. She carefully replaces the bottle and washes out the tumbler at the sink. Then she resumes her seat in front of the table. And Blanche, she is speaking faintly to herself.
I have got to keep hold of myself.
So Stella comes quickly around the corner of the building and runs to the door of the downstairs flat. And Stella
Blanche,
calling out joyfully.
Blanche,
So she calls out Blanche joyfully. Stella.
Blanche.
For a moment, they stare at each other. Then Blanche springs up and runs to her with a wild cry.
Stella, oh Stella, Stella, Stella for the star.
So she begins to speak with feverish vivacity, as if she feared for either of them to stop and think. They catch each other in a spasmodic embrace. Blanche says,
Now then, let me look at you, but don't you look at me, Stella. No, 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 not till later, not till I have bathed and rested, and turned that over light off, turn that off. I won't look at in the miracle's glare.
Stella laughs and complies.
Come back here now. Oh, my baby Stella, Stella for the star.
She embraces her again.
I thought you would never come back to this horrible place. What I am saying, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to be nice about it and say, oh, what a convincing location and such. Ha ha, precious lamb, you haven't said a word to me.
You haven't given me a chance to, honey.
So she starts laughing, but her glance at Blanche is a little anxious one.
Well, now you talk. Open your pretty mouth and talk while I look around for some liquor. I know you must have some liquor on the place. Where could it be? I wonder. Oh, I spy, I spy.
So Blanche rushes to the closet and removes the bottle. She is shaking all over and panting for breath as she tries to laugh. The bottle nearly slips from her grasp. Stella, noticing this, says,
Blanche, you sit down and let me pour the drink. I don't know what we have got to mix with. Maybe a cook's in the ice box? Look and see, honey, while I'm.
Blanche says, or this time.
Now cook, honey, not with my niece tonight. Where is?
Stanley, bowling. Love said they are having a found some soda tournament.
Just water, baby, to use it. Now don't get worried. Your sister hasn't turned into a drunk. She just all shaken up and hot and dried and dirty. You sit down now and explain this place to me. What are you doing in a place like this?
Now, Blaine,
Then Blanche says,
Oh, I'm not going to be hypocritical. I'm going to be honestly critical about it. Never, never in my worst dream could I picture only Poe, only Mr. Edgar Allan Poe could do it justice. Out there, I suppose, is the ghoul-haunted Walden of Wire.
so she laughing. Yes, Stella says.
no, honey, those are the Allen and tracks.
No, now seriously putting joke aside, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you write me? Honey, why didn't you let me know?
So Stella, carefully pouring herself a drink, says,
Tell you what, Blanche,
Why that you had to live in these conditions?
Are not you being a little insane about it? It is not that bad at all. New Orleans is not like other cities.
So
This
Blanche
had
says,
got this has got nothing to do with it. New Orleans, you might as well say, forgive me, blessed baby.
Blanche suddenly stops short.
They subjected it closed.
Stella is little dryly she says.
Thanks.
And during this pause, Blanche stares at her. She smiles at Blanche. Blanche, looking down at her glass, which shakes in her hand, says,
You are all I have got in the world, and you are not glad to see me.
Stella sincerely says,
Why, Blanche? You know that not true.
No, I'd forgotten how quiet you were.
You never did give me a chance to say much, Blanche. So I just got in the habit of being quiet around you.
so Blanche is vague, and Blanche says,
A good habit to get into.
then abruptly she breaks down and says,
You haven't asked me how I happened to get away from the school before the spring term ended.
Well, I thought you would volunteer that information if you wanted to tell me.
You thought I'd been fired?
No, I thought you might have resigned.
I was so exhausted by all I have been through, my nerves broke.
nervously tamping cigarette, he says,
I was on the verge of lancing almost. So Mrs. Graves is the high school superintendent. He suggested I take a leave of absence. I couldn't put all of those details into the wire. Oh, this buzzes right through me and feels so good.
Won't you have another?
No, once is my limit.
Sure.
You haven't said a word about my appearance.
You look just fine.
Good, love you for a liar. Daylight never exposed to total a ruin. But you have put on some weight. Yes, you are just a plump, a little prodigy, and it is so becoming to you.
Now, Blanche.
Yes,
Yes,
it is. It is, or I wouldn't say it. You just have to watch around the hips a little. Stand up.
Not now.
You hear me? I said stand up. You
Stella,
messy.
Stella
Sorry.
complies reluctantly and says,
You messy child. You have split something on that pretty white lace collar about your hair. You ought to have it cut in a feather bob with your dainty features. Stella, you have a maid, don't you?
No, with only 2 rooms, it is.
What? 2 rooms, did you say?
This one and.
Stella feels
The
embarrassed.
other one?
Wait.
So she laughs sharply. Blanche laughs sharply. There is an embarrassed silence for a moment, and then Blanche says,
I'm going to take just one little tiny nip more, sort of to put the stopper on, so to speak, then put the bottle away so I won't be tempted.
she
I,
rises,
I want you to look at my figure.
she turns around.
You know, I haven't put on 1 ounce in 10 years, Stella. I weigh what I weighed the summer you left Belrive. The summer dad died and you left us.
Stella, a little wearily, says,
It's just incredible, Blanche. No, well, you are looking.
Blanche and Stella, they both laugh uncomfortably.
But Stella, there is only 2 rooms. I don't see where you are going to put me.
We are going to put you in here.
What kind of bed is this? One of those collapsible things.
She sits on it, and then
Does
Stella
it
says,
feel does it feel all right?
Blanche dubiously speaks. Dubiously, she speaks. Blanche speaks.
Wonderful, honey. I don't like a bed that gives much. But there is no door between the two rooms, and Stanley, will it be decent?
Stanley's polish, you know.
Oh yes, they are something like Irish, aren't they?
Well,
Only not so here, bro.
So they both laugh again in some same way. And Blanche says,
I brought some nice clothes to meet all your lovely friends in.
I'm afraid you won't think they're lovely.
What are they like?
They're Stanley's friend.
Polacks?
They're a mixed lot, Blanche.
Heterogeneous types?
Oh, yes, yes, type is right.
Well, anyhow, I brought nice clothes and I will wear them. I guess you are hoping I will say I will put up at a hotel, but I am not going to put up at a hotel. I want to be near you, got to be with somebody. I can't be alone because, as you must have noticed, I am not very well.
her voice suddenly drops and her look is frightened.
You seem a little bit nervous or overthrow or something.
Will Stanley like me, or will I be just a visiting in-law, Stella? I couldn't stand that.
You will get along fine together if you will just try not to. Well, compare him with man that we went out with at home.
Is he so different?
Yes, different spices.
In what
In
way? What's he like?
Oh, you can't describe someone you are in love with. Here is a picture of him.
Stella hands a photograph to Blanche. Blanche says,
An officer.
A master strange in the engineer's crops. Those are decoration.
He had those on when you met him.
I, sh- I assure you, I won't just blinded by all the brass.
That's not what I.
But of course, there were things to adjust myself to later on.
Such as his civilian background.
and Stella laughs uncertainly. Blanche says,
Such. You haven't told him?
so Blanche
Oh,
is frightened.
Stanley. Oh, Stanley doesn't know yet.
Blanche is frightened and says,
You haven't told him?
He's on the road a good deal.
Oh, travels.
Yes,
Good. I mean, isn't it?
and
I can
Stella is talking half to herself.
I can hardly stand it when he is away for a night.
Why, Stella?
When he's away for a week, I nearly go wild.
Gracious.
And when he comes back, I cry on his laps like a baby.
She smiles to herself. And Blanche says,
I guess that is what is meant by being in love.
Stella looks up with a radiant smile.
Stella,
What?
I
Blanche,
haven't
in an uneasy rush, says,
I haven't asked you the things you probably thought I was going to ask, and so I will expect you to be understanding about what I have to tell you.
What, Blanche?
her face suddenly turns anxious.
Well, Stella, you are going to reproach me. I know what you are bound to reproach me. But before you do take into consideration, you left. I stayed and struggled. You came to New Orleans and looked out for yourself. I stayed at Velrive and tried to hold it together. I am not meaning this in any reproachful way, but all the burden descended on my shoulders.
The best I could do was making my own living, Blanche.
So Blanche begins to shake again with intensity.
I know, but you were the one that abandoned Velrive, not I. I stayed and fought for it, bled for it, almost died for it.
Stop this hysterical outburst and tell me what happened. What do you mean, fought and blade? What kind of?
I knew you would, Stella. I knew you would take this attitude about it.
About what? Please.
The laws, the laws.
Bell Rev lost. Is it? No.
Yes, Stella.
They stare at each other across the yellow checked linoleum on the table. Blanche slowly nods her head, and Stella looks slowly down at her hands folded on the table. The music of the blue piano grows louder. Blanche touches her handkerchief to her forehead, and Stella says,
But how did it go? What happened?
You were a fine one to ask me how it went.
Blanche.
You were a fine one to sit there accusing me of it.
Blanche.
Blanche says,
I took the blows in my face and my body. All of those dates, the long parade to the graveyard, father, mother, Margaret that dreadful way, so big with it, it couldn't be put in a coffin, but had to be burned like rubbish. You just came home in time for the funeral, Stella. You and funeral are pretty compared to deaths. Funeral are quiet, but deaths now always sometimes their breathing is hoarse and sometimes it rattles and sometimes they even cry out to you, "Don't let me go." Even the old sometimes say, "Don't let me go," as if you were able to stop them. But funerals are quiet with pretty flowers, and oh, what gorgeous boxes they packed them away in, unless you were there at the bed when they cried out, "Hold me." You would never suspect that you never suspect there was the struggle for breath and bleeding. You didn't dream, but I saw. And now you sit there telling me with your eyes that I let the place go. How in hell do you think all that sickness and dying was paid for? Death is expensive, Miss Stella, and old cousin Jessie's right after Margaret's hers. Why the Grim Reaper had put up his tent on our doorstep. Stella, Belrive was his headquarters. Honey, that's how it slipped through my fingers. Which of them left us a fortune? Which of them left a cent of insurance even? Only poor Jessie. 100 to pay for her coffin. That was all, Stella. And I with my pitiful salary at the school. Yes, excuse me. Sit there and stare at me, thinking I let the place go. I let the place go. Where were you? In bed with your Polak?
Stella springing up says,
Blanche. You be still. That's enough.
she starts out. Blanche says,
Where are you going?
I'm going into the bathroom to wash my face.
Oh, Stella, you are crying.
Doesn't that surprise you?
Forgive me, I didn't mean to.
the sound of men's voice is heard from outside. Stella goes into the bathroom, closing the door behind her. When the men appear and Blanche realizes it must be Stanley returning, she moves uncertainly from the bedroom door to the dressing table, looking apprehensively towards the front door. Stanley enters, followed by Steve and Mitch. Stanley pauses near his door, Steve by the foot of the spiral stair, and Mitch is slightly above and to the right of them, about to go out. As the men enter, we hear some of the following dialogues. Stanley says,
Is that how he got it?
Sure, that's how he got it. He hit the old weatherbird for $300 on a 6 number ticket.
Don't tell him those things. He'll believe it.
Mitch starts out, and Stanley, restraining Mitch, says,
Hey, Mitch, come back here.
Blanche, at the sound of voices, retires in her bedroom. She picks up Stanley's photo from dressing table, looks at it, puts it down. When Stanley enters the apartment, she darts and hides behind the screen at the head of bed. Then Steve to Stanley and Mitch says,
Hey, are we playing poker tomorrow?
Sure at pitch.
Mitch, hearing this, returns quickly to the stair rail and says,
No, not at my place. My mother's sick, still sick.
Okay, at my place, but you bring the beer. Break it up down there. I made the spaghetti dish and ate it myself.
So Mitch pretends not to hear, call out, good night all, and goes out singing. Eunice's voice is heard above.
I told you and phoned you we was playing. Jack's beer.
Eunice says,
You never phoned me once.
I told you at breakfast and phoned you at lunch.
Well, never mind about that. You just get yourself home here once in a while.
You want it in the papers?
more laughter and shouts of parting come from the man. Stanley throws the screen door of the kitchen open and comes in. He is of medium height, about 5 feet 8 or 9, and strongly compactly built. Animal joy of his being is implicit in all his movements and attitudes. Since earliest manhood, the center of his life has been pleasure with women, the giving and taking of it, not with weak indulgence, dependently, but with the power and pride of a richly feathered male bird among hens. Branching out from his complete and satisfying center are all the auxiliary channels of his life, such as his heartiness with men, his appreciation of rough humor, his love of good drink and food and games, his car, his radio, everything that is his, that bears his emblem of the gaudy seed bearer. He sizes women up at a glance with sexual classifications, crude images flashing into his mind and determining the way he smiles at them. Blanche, drawing involuntarily back from his chair, says,
You must be Stanley. I am Blanche.
Stella's sister.
Yes,
Hello, where's the little woman?
in the bathroom.
Oh, did not know you were coming in the town.
Oh,
Where you from? Blaines?
why? I live in L'Oreal.
In L'Oreal. Oh, yeah, in
So
L'Oreal.
Blanche says that she lives in Laurel. And now we find Stanley has crossed to the closet and removed the whiskey bottle. And Stanley says,
In L'Oreal. Oh, yeah, in L'Oreal. That's right. Not in my territory. Liquor goes fast in hot weather.
so he holds the bottle to the light to observe his depletion and says,
Have a shot.
No, I rarely touch it.
Some people really touch it, but it touch them often.
Blanche
Haha.
faintly says,
Haha.
My clothes are sticking to me. Do you mind if I make myself comfortable?
so he
Please,
starts
please
to remove
do.
his shirt in front of
Please.
Blanche.
Please do.
Be comfortable in my motto.
Blanche says,
It's mine too. It's hard to stay looking fresh. I haven't washed or even powdered my face, and here you are.
You know, you can catch cold sitting around in dim things, especially when you being exercising hard like blowing is. You are a teacher, are not you?
Yes,
What do you teach, Blaines?
English.
I never was a very good English student. How long you here for, Blaines?
I don't know yet.
You going to shake up here?
I thought I would if it's not inconvenient for you all.
Good.
Traveling wears me out.
Well, take it easy.
Blanche springs up.
What's that?
Cat. Hey, Stella.
So Stella faintly from the bathroom says,
Yes, Stanley.
Have not fallen in, have you?
he grins at Blanche. She tries unsuccessfully to smile back. There is a silence.
I am afraid I will strike you as being the unrefined type. Stella spoke of you a good deal. You were married once, were not you?
So we can hear the music of the polka rises up, faint in the distance. And Blanche says,
Yes, when I was quite young.
What happened?
The boy died.
he sinks back down and says,
I am afraid I am going to be sick.
her head falls on her arms. It is scene 2 now. It is 6 o'clock the following evening, and we find Blanche is bathing. Stella is completing her toilet. Blanche's dress, a flowered print, is laid out on Stella's bed. In this scene, we find Stanley entering the kitchen from outside, leaving the door open on the perpetual blue piano around the corner. And in this way, the
What's all
scene,
this monkey doing around?
Stella says,
Oh, Stan. Oh,
Stella jumps up.
Stan.
Stella jumps up and kisses him while he accepts with lordly composure.
I am taking plans to Gladwell's for supper and then to a show because it's your poker night.
Well, how about my supper? I'm not going to Galatar's for supper.
I put you a cold plate on ice.
Well, isn't that just dandy?
I'm going to try to keep Blanche out till the party breaks up because I don't know how she would take it. So we'll go to one of the little places in the quarter afterwards, and you would better give me some money.
Where is she?
She's soaking in a hot tub. Quiet her nerves. She's terribly upset.
Over what?
She's been through such an ordeal.
Yeah?
Stan, we have lost Bill Revy.
The place in the country?
Yes,
How?
She's vague and
oh,
says,
oh, it had to be sacrificed or something.
there is a pause while Stanley considers. Stella is changing into her dress, and Stella says,
When she comes in, be sure to say something nice about her appearance. And oh, don't mention the baby. I have not said anything yet. I'm waiting until she gets in a quieter condition.
Stanley
So?
ominously he's saying,
So?
And try to understand her and be nice to her, Stan.
Blanche is singing in the bathroom and singing.
From the land of the sky blue water, they brought a captive maid.
So we will keep on listening to the song sung by Blanche. From the land of the sky blue water, they brought a captive maid. And this song will be there throughout. And we find Stella responding. She says,
She was not expecting to find us in such a small place. You see, I would try to gloss things over a little in my letters
And so?
and admire her dress and tell her she looks wonderful. That's important with Blanche, her little weakness.
Yeah, I get the idea. Now let's get back to a little where to. You said the country place that was disposed of.
Oh, yes.
How about that? Let's have a few more details on that subject.
It's best not to talk much about it until she's calmed down.
So that's the deal, huh? Sister Blanche cannot be annoyed with business details right now.
You saw how she was last night.
Mm-hmm. I saw how she was. Now let's have a gander of the bill of sale.
I have not seen any.
She didn't show you no papers? No deed of sale or nothing like that, huh?
It seems like it was not sold.
Well, what in hell was it then? Give away to charity?
Shh! She will hear you.
I don't care if she hears me. Let's see the papers.
There were not any papers. She did not show any papers. I don't care about papers.
Have you ever heard of the Napoleonic Code, though?
No, Stanley, I have not heard of the Napoleonic Code, and if I have, I don't see what it.
Let me enlighten you on the point or two, baby.
Yes,
In the state of Louisiana, we have the Napoleonic Code, you see, according to which what belongs to the wife belongs to the husband and vice versa. For instance, if I had a piece of property and you had a piece of property,
my head is swimming.
all right, all right. I'll wait till she gets through the soaking in a hot tub, and then I'll inquire if she acquainted with the Napoleonic Code. It looks to me like you have been swindled, baby. And when you're swindled under the Napoleonic Code, I'm swindled too, and I don't like to be swindled.
There's plenty of time to ask her questions later, but if you do now, she will go to pieces again. I don't understand what happened to Bill Reeve, but you don't know how ridiculous you are. Being when you suggest that my sister or I or any of our family could have perpetrated a swindle on anyone else.
Then where's the money if the place was sold?
Not sold, lost.
Stanley stalks into the bedroom and she follows him. Stella says,
Open your eyes.
She calls Stanley,
That's
and Stanley pulls open the wardrobe trunk standing in middle of the room and jugs out an
Open your-
armful of dresses.
Open your eyes to this stuff. You think she got them out of a teacher's pay?
Hush!
Look at these feathers and furs that she come here to preen herself in. What's this here? A solid gold dress, I believe? And this one? Oh, what is these here? Fox pieces? Genuine fox fur pieces, a half a mile long. Where are those 4 fox pieces, Stella? Bushy snow white ones, no less. Where are your white fox pieces?
Those are inexpensive summer furs that Blanche has had a long time.
Well, I got an acquaintance who deals in this sort of merchandise. I'll have them in here to appraise it. I'm willing to bet you there are thousands of dollars invested in this stuff here.
Don't be such an idiot, Stanley.
So Stanley hurls the fur to the daybed. Then he jerks open the small drawer in the trunk and pulls up a fistful of costume jewelry. And Stanley says,
And what have we here? A treasure chest of pirate.
Oh, Stanley.
Pearls, ropes of them. What is this, sisters of yours? A deep sea diver? Bracelets of solid gold, too. Where are your pearls and gold bracelets?
Shh! Be still, Stanley.
And diamonds, a crown for an empress.
A rhinestone tiara she wore to a costume ball
What's a rhinestone?
next door to Glass.
Are you kidding? I have an acquaintance that works in the jewelry store. I'll have him in here to make an appraisal of this. Here's your plantation or what is left of it, dear.
You have no idea how stupid and horrid you are being. Now close that trunk before she comes out of the bathroom.
Stanley kicks the trunk partly closed and sits on the kitchen table. And Stanley says,
The Kowalskis and the Dubois are different notions.
Stella is very angry and says,
Indeed, they have. Thank heavens, I'm going to outside.
She snatches up her white hat and gloves and crosses to the outside door.
You come out with me, White Blanche is getting dressed. Stanley,
Stanley says,
since when do you give me orders?
Are you going to stay here and insult her?
You're damn tootin'. I'm going to stay here.
Stella goes out to the porch. Blanche comes out of the bathroom in a red satin robe, and airily Blanche says,
Hello, Stanley. Here I am, all freshly bathed and scented, and feeling like a brand new human being.
So Stanley lights a cigarette and Stanley says,
That's good.
Blanche drawing the curtains at the window. Blanche says,
Excuse me, while I sleep on my pretty new dress?
Go right ahead, Blanche.
so she closes the drapes between the rooms. Blanche says,
I understand there's to be a little card party to which we ladies are cordially not invited.
Stanley
Yeah.
ominously,
Yeah?
and Blanche throws off her robe and slips into a flowered print dress. Blanche says,
Where's Stella?
Out on the porch.
I am going to ask a favor of you in a moment.
What could that be? I wonder.
Some buttons in bag you may enter.
so he crosses through drapes with a smoldering look, and Blanche says,
How do I look?
You look all right.
Many thanks. Now the buttons.
I can do nothing with them.
You mean with your big clumsy fingers may I have a drag on your kick?
Have one of yourself?
Why thanks? It looks like a maid trunk has exploded.
Min Stella, we are helping you unpack.
Well, you certainly did a fast and throws job of it.
It looks like you raided some stylish soap shops in Paris.
Haha. Yes, clothes are my passion.
What does it cost for a string of fur piece like that?
Why? Those were a tribute from an admirer of mine.
He must have had a lot of admiration.
Oh, in my youth, I excited some admiration. But look at my knee now.
We find
Would you
Blanche
think-
smiling. We find Blanche smiling at him radiantly, saying,
Would you think it possible that I was once considered to be attractive?
Your looks are okay.
I was fishing for my compliment, Stanley.
I don't go in for that stuff.
What stuff?
Compliments to women about their look. I have never met a woman that didn't know if she was good looking or not without being told, and some of them give themselves credit for more than they have got. I once went out with a doll who said to me, I'm the glamorous type. I am the glamorous type. I said, so what?
And what did she say then?
She didn't say anything. That shut her up like a calm.
Did it end the romance?
It ended the conversation. That was all. Some men are took in by his Hollywood glamour stuff, and some men are not.
I'm sure you belong in the second category.
That's right.
I cannot imagine any witch of woman casting a spell over you.
That's right.
You are simple, straightforward, and honest. And little bit on the primitive side, I should think. To interest you, a woman would have to.
She pauses with an indefinite gesture, and Stanley slowly says,
Lay her cards on the table.
Blanche is seen still smiling and says,
Well, I never cared for you see worship people. That was why, when you walked in here last night, I said to myself, my sister has married a man. Of course, that was all that I could tell about you.
Now let's cut the rope.
Blanche, pressing her hands to her ears, says, "Oh!"
Stanley.
And Stella is calling from the steps. Loud. Stella is calling.
Stanley, you come out here and let Blanche finish dressing.
I'm through dressing, honey.
Well, you come out then.
Your sister and I are having a little talk.
Blanche says, tightly.
Honey, do me a favor. Run to the drugstore and get me a lemon coke with plenty of chipped ice in it. Will you do that for me, sweetie?
Stella uncertainly says.
Yes.
She goes around the corner of the building, and Blanche says,
The poor little thing was out there listening to us, and I have an idea she doesn't understand you as well as I do. All right, now, Mr. Kowalski, let us proceed without any more double talk. I am ready to answer all questions. I have nothing to hide. What is it?
There is such a thing in the state of Lancians as the Napoleonic Code, according to which whatever belongs to my wife is also mine, and vice versa.
My, but you have an impressive judicial ear.
She sprays herself with her atomizer, then playfully sprays him with it. He seizes the atomizer and slams down the dresser. She throws back her head and laughs. Stanley says,
If I didn't know that you was my wife's sister, I did get ideas about you.
Such as what?
Don't play so dumb. You know what?
Blanche, she puts the atomizer on the table and says,
All right, cards on the table. That suits me.
she turns to Stanley and says,
I know I
Where
feel
is
a good deal. After all, a woman's charm is 50% illusion. But when a thing is important, I tell the truth. And this is the truth. I haven't cheated my sister or you or anyone else as long as I have lived.
Where is the papers? In the trunk?
Everything that I own is in that trunk.
Stanley now crosses to the trunk, shoves it roughly open, and begins to open compartments. Blanche says,
What in the name of heaven are you thinking of? What is in the back of that little boy's mind of yours? That I am absconding with something, attempting some kind of treachery on my sister. Let me do that. It will be faster and simpler.
he crosses to the trunk and takes out a box and says,
I keep my papers mostly in this tin box.
so she opens the tin box and Stanley says,
What's them underneath?
he indicates another sheaf of papers. And then Blanche says,
These are love letters, yellowing with antiquity, all from one boy.
he snatches them up. She speaks fiercely. Blanche says, give those back to me. And then Stanley says,
I will have a look at them first.
The touch of your hand insults them.
Don't pull the stuff.
he rips off the ribbon and starts to examine them. Blanche snatches them from him and they cascade to the floor. They fight and Blanche says,
Now that you have touched them, I will burn them.
Stanley
What?
staring, baffled. Stanley is staring at this and baffled says,
What in hell are they?
Blanche is on the floor gathering them up. Says,
Once a dead boy wrote, I hurt him the way that you would like to hurt me. But you can't. I am not young and vulnerable anymore. But my young husband was, and I never mind about that. Just give them back to me.
What do you mean by saying you all have to burn them?
I'm sorry. I must have lost my head for a moment. Everyone has something he would not let others touch because of their intimate nature.
she now seems faint with exhaustion and she sits down with a strong box and puts on a pair of glasses and she goes methodically through a large stack of papers and we find
Ambler and Ambler. Crabtree. More Ambler and Ambler.
What is Ambler and Ambler?
A firm that made loans on the place.
Then it was lost on a mortgage.
so Blanche, touching her forehead, says,
That must have been what happened.
I don't want no ifs, ands, or buts. What's all the rest of all them papers?
she hands him the entire box. He carries it to the table and starts to examine the papers. Blanche, now picking up a large envelope containing more papers, Blanche says,
There are thousands of papers stretching back over hundreds of years, affecting Belle Reef as, piece by piece, our improvident grandfather and father and uncles and brother exchanged the land for their epic fornications. To put it plainly,
So Blanche removes her glasses with an exhausted laugh and says,
the four later word deprived us of our plantation, till finally all that was left. And Stella can verify that. Was the house itself and about 20 acres of ground, including a graveyard to which now all but Stella and I have retreated.
She pours the content of the envelope on the table and says,
Here all of them are, all papers. I hereby endow you with them. Take them, peruse them, commit them to memory. Even, I think it is wonderfully fitting that Bell Reef should finally be this bunch of old papers in your big, capable hand. I wonder if Stella's come back with my lemon coke.
So we find Blanche leaning back and closing her eyes. She closes her eyes. Stanley says,
I have a lawyer acquaintance who will study this out.
Present them to him with a box of aspirin tablets.
You see, under the Napoleonic Code, a man has to take an interest in his wife's affair, especially now that she is going to have a baby.
Blanche now opens her eyes. The blue piano music that was heard from background sounds louder, and Blanche says,
Stella going to have a baby. I didn't know she was going to have a baby.
Now Blanche gets up and crosses to the outside door. Stella appears around the corner with a carton from the drugstore. Stanley goes into the bedroom with the envelope and the box. The inner room fades to darkness, and the outside wall of the house is visible. Blanche meets Stella at the foot of the steps to the sidewalk, and Blanche says,
Stella Foster, how lovely to have a baby. It's all right. Everything is all right.
I am sorry he did that to you.
Oh, I guess he is just not the type that goes for jasmine perfume. But maybe he is what we need to mix with our blood now that we have lost Bell Reef. We thrust it out. I feel a bit shaky, but I think I handled it nicely. I laughed and treated it all as a joke.
Now we find Steve and Pablo appear carrying a case of beer on the stage.
I called him a little boy and laughed and flirted. Yes, I was flirting with your husband.
As the men now approach, she says,
The guests are gathering for the poker party.
the two men pass between them and enter the house.
Which way do we go now, Stella? This way.
No, this way.
So Stella leads Blanche away, and Blanche is seen laughing, speaking. Blanche says,
The blinder leading the blind.
a Tamil vendor is heard calling from outside. A vendor's voice that is heard.
Red hot.
Red hot, red hot, red hot. The curtain drops. End of scene 2.